How's it going? Good morning. Good morning. There's one up here.
In this classroom, the students are actually a group of teachers attending a Focus Wild workshop sponsored by Arizona Game and Fish and held at the Phoenix Zoo.
First of all, welcome. So this is the Wolves of the Southwest Teacher Workshop, Educator Workshop, in case you are thinking you're in the wrong spot. And our goal is to show teachers how they can bring wildlife issues and the wildlife themselves into their classroom. And so we do a lot of ones that are more pedagogical, from how do we teach wildlife concepts, looking at inquiry, looking at combining literacy and science. And then we do a lot of wildlife specific ones that might be hot topics of the day, like black-footed ferrets or wolves or jaguars or whatever the topic might be that we can generate some interest in, what we would call a teachable moment. So let's talk about the wolves a little bit. If you weren't familiar, we do have wolves in Arizona. We've had them. They are historically found in Arizona. We have the Mexican gray wolf. It is largely considered a subspecies of the larger gray wolf, the timber wolf that's found in like Minnesota and the Midwest area.
Along with learning about the history of wolves in Arizona, the teachers also hear about the role zoos play in saving endangered species and the complexities involved when it comes to maintaining genetic diversity.
We have to know the history because we have to know how this animal is represented within the breeding population. We also need to know, does this animal have genetic markers that would not be good to carry on within the population? You know, so we've got to know as much as possible. And so you can imagine, Gretchen is our registrar. The nightmare job that she has of tracking every single animal in this zoo. Okay, every little bird, every turtle, okay, everything that you see out there has a name, has a number, and an entire history behind it. So there's one individual who has to look at every single individual within the captive population and decide, wolf A gets to breed with wolf X. Because they are not overly represented in the population. They're of prime breeding age. They seem to be of prime breeding health. And so they make that recommendation.
The Phoenix Zoo currently has 4 Mexican wolves, all males, which have been involved in the conservation efforts for this species. This workshop is about more than just the nuts and bolts of wolf history and genetics. Back in the classroom, Eric uses a very familiar fairy tale to help illustrate how culture affects our perspectives, in this case towards the wolf.
Little Red Riding Hood. What is the distinctive garment that she wears?
A red hood.
A red hood? Does anybody think there's something else? A cape. So some people are saying a cape. Does the cape have a hood?
Yes.
Okay. We had teachers think back to Little Red Riding Hood when they were young and how they remember that story. And then what we did was we had them start to share the stories that they remember, and we started to recognize some differences sometimes in how it ended. Was there a woodsman? Was there not a woodsman? What did the woodsman do when he got into the house? Did he kill the wolf? Was the wolf chased away? All these different instances. And then we started talking about why there might be differences, and it really came down to culture. And then we could show them Little Red Riding stories from other cultures and show them that depending on where you were born and where you were raised often shapes your impression of the wildlife that you might be encountering in that area. Okay, so how does it end? What happens to the wolf?
He goes out to his mouth. He burns his mouth
like,
biting it. Because Grandma beats him with a poker.
Oh.
Grandma beats him with a
Grandma,
poker.
so there's no woodsman in this one?
It's amazing to think about how many different ways Little Red Riding Hood is told. And that's going to be an interesting thing. The school where I teach, we have a very mixed, multicultural environment. And we get people from all over the world. And so it would be really great to bring that into my school and to get to hear how other people do view that story.
Perspectives on the wolf are also shaped by the direct impact their presence has on the landscape where they live. To give the teachers a clearer understanding of the complexities of the issue, they heard from both a biologist who works with the wolves every day and a rancher who deals with the consequences of the wolf reintroduction.
The primary prey of Mexican gray wolves are elk and deer within the Blue Range Wolf Recovery Area. The Blue Range Wolf Recovery Area includes Arizona, New Mexico, and the White Mountain Reservation. The historical distribution, as you can see from the map here, was from central New Mexico and Arizona western Texas, all the way down to the state, Mexico City, and the mountainous region of Mexico.
Ranchers don't hate wolves, just like we don't hate lions. We don't hate coyotes. But what we have, because of our lifestyle and what we do, and our office is the woods. Our office, you know, are these river valleys, is we have basically a predictable adversarial relationship. We raise slow, not too intelligent animals. And so obviously we have concerns about animals that are top-level predators being in the vicinity of the animals that we raise.
On January 25th, 1998, they released the first wolves. I believe it was 7 wolves in Arizona. At the end of 1998, I think there were 3 or 4 left. They were captive wolves. They'd been hand-fed, you know, for so many years. They didn't have a lot of wild skills. They had a lot of nuisance behavior, and they were pretty easy to shoot at that point. Not a lot of people were in favor of wolves in the area that they were released, so it was a long fight to get a population established just from the captive animals.
If you asked a rancher anywhere in Arizona and said, do you think wolves should be reintroduced? They're going to say no. You know, so I mean, I'm just going to be straightforward about that. However, with what's happening today, you know, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Whether this population of wolves expands or it stays where it is, it's staying. So now it's a matter of, okay, well, how do we live with it? How do we manage for this situation?
It's clear that the reintroduction of wolves is not a simple issue. So to create another teachable moment, Eric divides the class into groups, with each person taking on a role of a different stakeholder to see how they would tackle a similar situation.
You're going to meet for about 5 minutes briefly in that group of about 3 or 4 people and just sort of outline what's important to you in this proposal. They had to meet together and sort of compromise and come up with a potential solution and give recommendations to the Game and Fish Department on whether we should pursue this reintroduction, and if we do, should there be stipulations that we should put in, regulations that we should put in, and really got them to see that, again, it's not a black and white issue. It's not as simple as just saying Game and Fish should do this.
We know that there's a good prey population. We know that there's good road density. Everything fits into that thing to follow along the lines to make sure that we can take this animal from the endangered list and take them off of that list without affecting too much.
And do they know this? I mean, it's again, you know, breaking. They don't follow the rules. They'll kill my livestock.
This is beef on a ranch that I guarantee that no predator has ever been killed because he's preying on my livestock.
After a lot of lively discussion, each group presented their concern and recommendations for the proposed wolf reintroduction.
The one who had the most trouble was a private landowner, not a rancher, just a private landowner, and her opinion was, it's my land, I should be able to do whatever I want on it. If a wolf comes onto my land, I should be able to do whatever I need to either get rid of them or, you know, whatever, you know.
Our ranchers, they were very
vocal
on the fact that they needed to have their livelihood protected.
As a hunting community, we were first kind of no. So after that, we come up with a compromise. We were big on compromises over here. We would like to compromise that we proceed with the project as planned. However, you at the Arizona Game and Fish Department keep a sustainable level of deer and elk, which drives our economy as a hunting community. And you also give an exact number of population of wolves. Once that population exceeds that number, we institute a hunting season, which then will boost our economy with hunting licenses on wolves. Everybody wins, we're all happy.
We saw where those stakeholder groups coming together, we saw separate plans from separate groups coming out. So basically the same idea. We had the financial, it's been interesting how different groups have picked up on different things so far. You know, we had some of the private property stuff, we've had some of the financial incentives, and now we've actually had some of the recreational pieces represented as well.
I've always had an interest in wolves, and recently moving out here in the last 6 months, I noticed this wolf reintroduction program, and it kind of caught my attention. On top of that, I was looking for some other ways to teach science and to introduce this and work this into a curriculum.
I really enjoyed the class. I thought it was great that we got to hear from speakers who have actually been out there with the wolves and the pros and the cons of trying to save them and looking at it from different points of view, which is so important. It's what we have to be able to present to our kids because they need to know both points of view.
Really what we wanted to show today is the different perspectives that come to the table when we're talking about any particular type of wildlife issue. In this case, it was wolves, and showing that it's not just cut and dry. I like to use a statement that wildlife biology is not the same as wildlife management, and when we manage wildlife, oftentimes we're managing the people as well, and so we need to acknowledge the perspectives. As a government agency, we're responsible for all the people and serving all of the people, and all those people come with different perspectives.